So, I want you to just imagine for a second that you're staring at a face. And it's completely swollen, it's shiny, it's just entirely pink.
Right, like completely disfigured.
Yeah, exactly. The features are so distorted, it honestly barely even looks human anymore. But the thing is, you know exactly who this is.
You'd have to, right.
Right, because you've sat in classrooms with this guy for 6 years. You've pretty much obsessed over him. And now the people standing right behind you, literally breathing down your neck, they're going to execute your entire family if you don't say his name right now. So do you speak?
Man, it is just the ultimate pressure cooker. I mean, you are forced to make this split-second decision where every single outcome basically seems to end in total disaster.
It really does.
And the only tool you actually have left in your arsenal is your own hesitation.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are stepping right into what I think is one of the most suffocating, tense scenes in modern literature. We are unpacking Chapter 23 of The Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, we are heading straight into Malfoy Manor.
Exactly. So just to set the stage for you, Harry Potter has just been captured by Snatchers. He's been dragged into enemy headquarters, and he is standing face to face with Draco Malfoy.
And there is this huge mystery right at the core of this standoff that just demands to be unpacked.
Right, because our mission today is to figure out if Draco really, truly failed to recognize the boy he had literally tormented for years. Or, if his silence was actually this deeply calculated mechanism of survival.
Yeah, to get to the bottom of his psychology here, we really have to establish the physical reality of that drawing room first.
For sure.
Because, on the surface, Draco has a very legitimate, very practical reason to be confused. Harry genuinely does not look like Harry.
No, the physical disguise is intense. Like right before they get caught in the woods, Hermione hits Harry with a stinging jinx.
Which is such a brutal, quick-thinking move.
It is. She doesn't have the time to cast some complex illusion or anything. She just goes straight for brute force trauma to hide his identity.
Yeah, she basically just relies on extreme swelling.
Right. And Harry even catches a glimpse of himself in a mirror over the Malfoy's fireplace. He notes that his face is massive. Like, the swelling is so severe, his eyes are basically forced shut.
And he's actively trying to lean into that anonymity. Right. He tells the Snatchers his name is Vernon Dudley.
Which is a hilarious fake name, by the way. But yeah, the intention is to make him totally unrecognizable. And, it works to an extent.
It does, but we have to remember who caught them. The Snatchers who brought him in are led by Fenrir Greyback.
Oh, yeah. Greyback is terrifying.
Exactly. Yeah. These are not just easily confused, run-of-the-mill street thugs. Greyback is a predator. He operates on pure instinct and smell and, really keen observation.
Yeah, he spots the glasses they found in Harry's tent right off the bat.
Right. And he even pushes a filthy finger right to Harry's forehead. He actually feels the lightning bolt scar, even though the skin is stretched super tight from all that swelling.
Greyback is just gloating at this point.
Oh, totally. He has absolutely zero doubts about who he has in his custody. He knows it's Potter.
Which, okay, this brings up a glaring contradiction that we really need to talk about. Yeah. You have these mercenaries who have never even formally met Harry Potter, acting with total 100% certainty.
Right.
But the actual Death Eaters in the room, specifically Lucius Malfoy, they totally refuse to make the call.
Yeah, the hesitation from Lucius is wild.
It is. Lucius has known Harry for years. He has stood inches from his face and actively mocked that exact scar. Yet in this scene, Lucius is frantic. He's sweating. He's absolutely paralyzed.
He's terrified.
So why does he need a teenager to verify what a mercenary already knows?
Well, you have to look at this systemic culture of terror that Voldemort has built. Lucius is, he's essentially a disgraced executive in the most lethal organization on the planet.
That is such a good way to put it.
Right. Because he completely botched the Department of Mysteries mission a year prior.
Yeah.
So he is actively, deeply in the bad graces of an authoritarian leader who literally murders his followers for minor infractions.
Okay, so it's basically a toxic corporate environment, but taken to a murderous extreme?
Exactly.
It's like, imagine a disgraced middle manager finds this massive, potentially game-changing account, which is Harry Potter.
Right, the golden ticket.
But he refuses to take it directly to the CEO, because if it's a false alarm, if they summon Voldemort and it turns out to just be some random kid with a really swollen face...
The CEO doesn't just fire him.
No, he slaughters the manager and his entire family.
Yeah, the stakes are just incomprehensibly high for Lucius. And so, how do you survive in that kind of system when you are just so terrified of making a fatal error.
You pass the buck.
Exactly. You shift the burden of proof.
Yeah.
Lucius desperately forces his teenage son to sign off on the identification instead.
He practically begs Draco to confirm it.
He does, because if Draco says yes, Lucius can tell himself and Voldemort that he was acting on his uncertainty. It takes the heat off his own risky gamble.
I hear that. I really do. But this is where I struggle with giving Draco a little too much credit here.
Oh, how so?
Well, if Lucius is terrified of making a fatal mistake, isn't Draco experiencing that exact same terror?
That's a very fair point.
Right. Like, why are we automatically assuming Draco is making some profound moral choice here? It seems much more likely to me that he's looking at this disfigured, swollen meatball of a face and just thinking, man, if I guess wrong, Voldemort kills me.
Yeah, the self-preservation angle.
Exactly. I would argue his silence could just be pure, unadulterated self-preservation. He's just scared.
And honestly, it's a very logical deduction to make. Even Harry admits internally during the scene that if he hadn't known he was looking in a mirror earlier, he wouldn't have even recognized himself.
See? The stinging jinx is highly effective.
It is. It is. But the self-preservation theory totally shatters when you look at the other two prisoners in the room.
Okay, lay it out for me. Walk me through it.
Well, Harry isn't alone, right? Ron and Hermione are standing right there next to him.
Right.
And Bellatrix Lestrange, who basically takes over the interrogation, she singles out Hermione.
Oh, wait. Hermione didn't get hit with a stinging jinx?
She did not. Her face is entirely normal.
Wow.
Yeah. And Draco Malfoy has shared a classroom with Hermione Granger almost every single day for 6 years. He knows her face, he knows her posture, her voice.
Right, identifying her should have been the easiest thing in the world for him.
Exactly. Yet, when Bellatrix pushes him to identify Hermione, Draco hesitates just as much as he did with Harry.
Wait, really?
Yes. He completely refuses to give a definitive answer about her either.
Okay, that completely blows up the bad eyesight theory. That is wild.
It's the smoking gun.
Right, it really is. His reluctance to condemn Hermione as the smoking gun, he knows exactly who she is. And, like, more importantly, he knows exactly what his Aunt Bellatrix does to Muggle-borns.
Oh, absolutely. Bellatrix is a renowned sadist. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. Draco knows that handing Hermione over basically guarantees her torture and death right there on his drawing room floor.
Right. So what we're seeing here is a distinct pattern of behavior. This is not an inability to recognize his peers.
No, it's a choice.
Yes. It is an active, deliberate mechanism of withholding certainty. Draco is consciously choosing not to be the lever that drops them into the executioner's block.
Which, man, that forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question about Draco.
Because of his past.
Yeah. I mean, for 6 years, this guy was the ultimate schoolyard bully. He tormented Ron and Hermione constantly.
He was awful to them.
He actively wished for Hermione's death during the Chamber of Secrets incidents, like out loud. So how do we get from the sneering kid throwing around blood status slurs to this terrified teenager who is refusing to hand them over to his aunt?
What broke him?
Exactly. What broke him?
Well, the turning point is really this massive collision between abstract ideology and visceral reality.
Meaning what, exactly?
Well, in his early years, Draco just loved the aesthetic of supremacy. He enjoyed the power that came with echoing his father's bigotry, you know?
Right, because it meant he got the best seat on the train, and he could just bully kids in the corridors with zero consequences.
Exactly. It was all theoretical to him. But then, during the events of his 6th year, Voldemort tasks Draco with murdering Albus Dumbledore.
And that completely fries his nervous system.
Totally.
We see him, like, crying in bathrooms, wasting away. He is just terrified for his life.
He's a nervous wreck.
He spends an entire year fixing that vanishing cabinet to sneak Death Eaters into the school. But when he finally has Dumbledore cornered on the astronomy tower,
He lowers his wand.
he cannot physically bring himself to commit actual murder.
Right. And that hesitation on the tower. That is the seed of his behavior in the drawing room at the manor.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, because Draco watches Severus Snape step in and commit the murder instead. And the reality of that violence just entirely shatters his childish illusions.
It's not a game anymore.
Exactly. But the indoctrination gets dismantled even further during the summer leading up to this moment with Harry.
Right, when Voldemort basically moves in.
Yeah. Draco sits in his own dining room and has to watch his Muggle Studies professor, Charity Burbage, be tortured, murdered by Voldemort, and then fed to a giant snake.
over his own dinner table. Like, we cannot overstate that detail.
That's horrifying.
Malfoy Manor was his safe haven, you know? It was his ultimate symbol of wealth and this untouchable status. And it has just been violated in the most grotesque way possible.
It is the ultimate exposure of extremist ideology. I mean, it is incredibly easy for a teenager to talk a big game about purifying the wizarding race when it just involved calling people nasty names at school.
Right.
But when that ideology demands that you sit quietly while a woman literally begs for her life in your own home, the rhetoric just crumbles.
It falls completely apart.
Draco suddenly realizes the vast, horrifying chasm between schoolyard superiority and actively participating in a regime of public torture.
I hear all of that. I really do. But I'm still hesitant to label him a hero here.
Oh, I wouldn't call him a hero.
Okay, good. Because when I look at Draco in that drawing room, I don't really see a kid making this brave moral stand. I see a kid whose spirit is just completely broken by the reality of war.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is this actually redemption, or is he just completely paralyzed by trauma?
Like I said, I wouldn't call him a hero either. And honestly, I don't think the narrative is asking us to view him as one.
Right.
The distinction you're making between morality and trauma is crucial. But here's the thing, in a totalitarian regime, those two things often blur together.
How so?
Well, when a system demands active participation in terror, simply choosing not to participate is actually a profound act of resistance.
Just by doing nothing.
Exactly. His motives might be born entirely from sheer terror. It might just be a desperate desire to keep his own hands clean, but the outcome is exactly the same. Right. He protects them.
He does. And, that brings us to the other massive factor here. It's not just guilt over what happens to Harry or Hermione.
Right. There's a much more personal angle.
Yes. It's the reality of what has happened to his own family. We really need to look at the absolute nightmare that Draco's daily life has become.
Oh, it's bleak. I mean, growing up, Draco basically operated under the assumption that Voldemort's return would elevate the Malfoys to, pure blood royalty.
Right. They thought they would be the untouchable elite ruling the New World Order.
But the reality is the exact opposite. They are essentially hostages in their own home.
Literally. Voldemort has completely hijacked Malfoy Manor as his base of operations.
He has.
And he doesn't even treat Lucius like a trusted lieutenant anymore. He treats him with open, vicious contempt.
It's so humiliating for Lucius.
It is. He strips Lucius of his wand in front of the entire inner circle. And in this world, taking a wizard's wand is tantamount to removing their agency, their defense, their very identity.
Yeah, it is a deliberate public emasculation. And Draco has to watch this. He has to watch his father, a man he completely idolized and viewed as untouchable, just reduced to this frightened, whimpering servant.
It's crazy. The Malfoys, who champion pure blood supremacy harder than anyone, have become prisoners.
They are slowly awakening to the fact that their supposed savior is actually their captor.
So think about the tactical reality facing Draco when he looks at Harry's swollen face. If he says, yes, this is Harry Potter, what is his best case scenario?
Maybe a temporary pat on the head.
Right. Maybe Voldemort gives Lucius his wand back. But ultimately, handing over Harry Potter guarantees that Voldemort wins the war.
And if Voldemort wins the war, it cements the nightmare.
Exactly.
The Malfoys would remain subservient pawns forever. Their home would just remain a permanent staging ground for torture and death.
So by refusing to identify Harry, Draco is silently protecting the single entity capable of destroying Voldemort.
Yes. He is protecting the only person who can end the occupation of his home. Handing Harry over would basically destroy Draco's only chance of ever getting his normal life back.
Okay, so if we accept that Draco desperately wants Voldemort defeated, or, at least just wants him out of his house, why not just lie?
What do you mean?
Why not look at Harry and say, nope, that's not him. That's Vernon Dudley. Why go through this agonizing, drawn-out silence?
Okay. That gets to the linguistic brilliance of how Draco navigates the interrogation. We really have to examine the exact phrasing he uses.
Okay, let's break it down.
He never once says the word no.
He doesn't.
No. He says, I can't be sure. And he says, I don't know.
Interesting. Why is I don't know safer than no?
Because authoritarian leaders demand absolute loyalty and absolute truth from their subjects, right?
Yeah.
And outright no is a definitive statement of fact.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah. If Draco says, no, that is not Harry Potter, he is literally staking his life on that claim.
Right, because if the swelling goes down an hour later, or if Bellatrix figures it out by interrogating Hermione, Draco is trapped in a lie.
Exactly. Voldemort would view that definitive no as deliberate treason, and the punishment for treason is death.
Oh man, it's the authoritarian equivalent of pleading the fifth.
That is exactly what it is.
By using the phrase, "I don't know," Draco is building this linguistic shield. He is employing weaponized incompetence.
Gives him total plausible deniability.
Right. If it turns out to be Harry, Draco can just say, look, his face was huge, I told you I wasn't sure. It is the absolute safest form of passive resistance.
It is a masterclass in survival mechanics, honestly. Yeah. He is walking this razor-thin tightrope between two warring factions.
It's so tense.
It really is.
Yeah.
He delays the identification, which importantly buys Harry time, but he does it without openly defying his father, his aunt, or the Dark Lord to their faces.
He is subtly tipping the scales while keeping his hands entirely in his pockets.
Beautifully put, yes.
And it's such a specific tactic, too, just withholding information rather than overtly lying or fighting.
It is. And the brilliance of it is how perfectly it foreshadows the climax of the entire narrative involving his mother.
Oh, Narcissa in the Forbidden Forest.
Exactly. Consider the parallel here. When Voldemort strikes Harry down in the forest, he needs verification of the kill, right?
Yeah. Right. He sends Narcissa Malfoy over to check the body.
Narcissa realizes Harry is actually alive.
What?
But instead of calling it out, she quietly asks him if Draco is still alive inside the castle.
And when Harry confirms it,
she stands up, turns to the most dangerous dark wizard in history, and tells a direct lie. She says he is dead.
It is the exact same mechanism of resistance.
Yes.
Draco protects Harry through weaponized hesitation, the whole, routine. And then Narcissa escalates it and protects Harry through a direct lie.
But the core action is identical.
It really is. I mean, neither of them puts on a Gryffindor scarf. Neither of them officially joins the Order of the Phoenix. They don't fight in the Battle of Hogwarts on the front line.
They don't have to.
Right.
They highlight this absolutely fascinating theme about how tyranny actually falls apart.
It's not always grand battles.
No, not at all. The mechanics of a totalitarian regime can certainly be dismantled by overt rebellion, yes, but they are equally crippled by the quiet, selfish, or terrified choices of the people inside the system who simply decide to stop cooperating.
Let's just synthesize the journey we've been on today, because this is huge.
Let's do it.
We started by looking at a kid with a hugely swollen face standing in a hostile drawing room, and we asked if his childhood rival actually recognized him.
And the evidence points overwhelmingly to the fact that he did.
Yeah, the failure to identify Hermione basically proves he wasn't fooled by the physical disguise at all.
Exactly.
We uncovered a narrative that isn't really about bad eyesight, but about the deeply complex psychology of radicalization and trauma.
It's about a kid waking up to reality.
Right. Draco Malfoy, the kid who spent years acting as a loud mouthpiece for bigotry, ends up saving the life of his greatest enemy simply by choosing to say, I don't know.
It's powerful.
It is a massive reminder that sometimes the most pivotal actions in our lives aren't loud. They aren't heroic speeches or, epic battles. They're just the quiet, terrified choices we make to simply not comply.
A power of inaction, when action is fiercely demanded by a corrupt system, is just a profound shift in the balance of power. It throws sand right in the gears of the machine.
Which honestly leaves us with a lingering thought to carry with you today.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If fictional history is so often shaped by the things people choose not to say, like Draco's, I don't know how many times, in our own real-world history has a massive disaster been averted simply because someone, somewhere in a room of power, quietly decided to play dumb.
Man, it completely reframes how we look at bureaucracy.
It really does.
Like how many missing files or delayed reports or claims of ignorance were actually deliberate acts of sabotage by people who are just too terrified to fight back openly.
It changes everything. It really makes you wonder. Sometimes the fate of the world doesn't hinge on a battle cry. Sometimes it just hinges on a teenager hesitating, looking at a swollen face and deciding that silence is the bravest thing they can muster.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep looking past the surface, and we'll catch you on the next one.